Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us today for the session on the Great 8 Pillars of ROI-Driven Marketing. In today's session, we'll be going through the journey and the development of the methodology and framework for the Great 8 Pillars and the story behind how we got here today. I'd like to take a few minutes and introduce our moderator. Jim Tennant is a professional EOS integrator and CEO coach at Culture Shock. He is also a former Sync Show client and a past president of a manufacturing company. So when Jim had an opportunity to read the book, he was able to really dive in and put himself in his past life shoes to spend some time thinking about how this process and this method can make a difference for manufacturers. As he moderates today's discussion, he'll be bringing everyone through that journey and helping us all align with where the process has gone and where the company is going to help manufacturers drive their business forward with revenue. Today's discussion is led by our CEO and founder of Sync Show, Chris Peer. He is also the founder and CEO of G8P and the author of the book. Chris is going to be bringing us through the development of the Great 8 Pillars and taking us along on the success stories and also the learned challenges from current and former clients so that we can all move forward in a better opportunity to drive business, build company success, and create those great success stories for businesses everywhere. So thank you again for joining us today. I hope you enjoy the conversation and get ready to dive in.
So Chris, this is great, and we've been doing this for a while. You decided to write a book. What motivated you to write a book?
You know, Jim, over the years, I've been doing this for 20 years, and we learned a lot of lessons along the way. And what I realized was, as a marketing agency, our clients wanted results. And by results, they weren't necessarily happy with what I call vanity metrics in the book. They weren't happy with impressions or website visits. They wanted sales from their marketing dollars. And normally when we come into a manufacturing company and the owner or the leader or the VP of sales calls us, it's because they're in pain. They're frustrated. They've worked with an agency usually before, or they've had an internal marketing person, and they're not getting results. And so we've always been focused on getting the results as long as we've been in existence. But really what happened a couple of years ago was I had recently hired a new VP to come into the organization, John Daters. And John came into my office one day and he said, "Hey, our results are really good. How are we doing this?" He's like, "I've worked at several agencies before and I've never seen these kinds of results for clients before." He's like, "Are they real?" And I'm like, "Of course they're real. We're not lying in our marketing." But I said, "John, you know what? It's been a couple of years. Why don't you go and take a look at all our client data? I need you to believe in what we do. Once you've aggregated it, come back. Let's see what the data says and see what we can do." He came back a couple months later. He's like, "I went through the data." He's like, "Our results are even better than our case studies were showing." He's like, "What are we doing?" And it was at that time, John and I realized we were really good cooks, but we didn't have any recipes. And so we were like, we got to fix this. And so we set out on a mission to analyze everything we did over the years. And so as John and I were talking, we need to get Nadine involved. So Nadine Nocero-Taig, who's been with the company for over 10 years, she helped build out many of these methodologies as well. So the three of us got together and we started mapping this out. And then when we got done, we're like, wow, this is really cool. Nobody's got anything like this. We need to write a book. So to answer your question, that's how it all came to be.
Well, thank you. And I was, I was real excited when you asked me to read the book. Number one, I'm a big reader, but I don't get many opportunities to read that first press, right? So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
But what excited me about the book was this was a how-to for a really tough segment. I mean, let's face it, manufacturing nowadays is not easy to market to or market for.
Yeah.
So what were you thinking, man? What made you pick that segment?
You know, my father was in manufacturing. He was the president. He was like the takeover guy, not the takeover guy, but the rebuild guy. He'd go into manufacturing companies and turn them around. And there's something about manufacturing that's just always been in my blood. And I don't know what it is. I just like going into manufacturing plants and being on the shop floor and the smells and the sounds. And I don't know if it's the project guy in me, the guy that likes to fix stuff and make stuff, but it just seems cool to me. And over the years, our first client was a manufacturing company. They manufactured golf balls. And it's a story for another day, but it's a pretty cool story. And I just realized like the process is fun. And the people in manufacturing are really good people. I found that they're very down to earth. Manufacturers, they want a partnership. They really believe in that relationship. And the problem is with manufacturers, many of them have a very engineering mindset. So you yourself, you know.
I'm guilty.
Yeah. And usually that engineering mindset is one of prove it to me, show it to me. If I can't quantify it or put it on paper, it doesn't exist.
Right.
And to them, marketing is often smoke and mirrors. And historically for manufacturers built their business on relationships. It was all about those relationships and taking people out and going golfing and buying gifts and entertainment and, you know, really getting to know families, and those relationships last a lifetime, and so do those business relationships. Well, now with the internet over the last 15 years, that's all flipped upside down.
Okay.
And so I felt that manufacturing this is going to sound hokey. I always felt manufacturing was like the lifeblood of our communities. And if we could help them and while doing something I loved, why not? Yeah, even better.
So yes, you're right about engineers. In God we trust. Everybody else better bring data, right?
Yep.
So that brings the next question. Who inside the manufacturing organization, who should read the book?
That's a great question. So the book was really geared for three different audiences. One would be the owner or the president, CEO of a manufacturing company that is sick and tired of wasting time and money on marketing that doesn't work. And they realize that their competitors are winning, and they need that competitive edge. I would say the next reader would be the VP of Sales and Marketing for the same reasons.
Okay.
They want to succeed. They need help. And then the third would be at larger manufacturing companies, that leader in marketing that is burnt out. They're tired of doing more and more and more effort because they're lacking certain operational, foundational elements in their marketing strategy, if they have a strategy at all. So,
Okay,
yeah.
That's good. So that's who should read it. Can somebody then take your book, read it, and just go off and create this on their own?
Yeah, they can. So we built the book and designed the book in a very specific way so that there's lessons learned throughout, so that they can understand that, you know, we've failed at times too and how we fixed it. But there are also templates and guides throughout. And then our website, which is going to be g8p.co, is going to have all the free templates and tools that people can download to do this on their own, should they choose to.
That's really helpful. That sounds like you're almost taking the marketing firm out. How does a marketing firm help with this? For example, Think Show.
Yeah. So if you look at the framework was built because most manufacturing companies were lacking the foundational elements to get ROI from marketing. And what really came to light was that you can't pull this off with one marketer. If you're thinking about hiring one marketing person, it's impossible to run a marketing strategy and a whole program, because you need writers, graphic designers, videographers, you need marketing strategists, you need project managers, search engine optimization. I mean, you name it. There's so many different specialties and disciplines in marketing. So hiring one person may be a great start to help facilitate that and manage it through the organization. But, doing it yourself and how agencies fit in is you're still going to need support, because you're going to need those experts in place. And while you can pull off a very great marketing program with a small marketing team, oftentimes you're going to need that expert to come in and either fill in the gaps or guide the way for you, depending on your internal team.
So that sounds like you're actually saying this makes your marketing firm level up. And to that end, what separates the grade 8 from other methods, other systems, or even just other firms that do this?
Having worked with over 100 manufacturing companies over the last 20 years, when we started to engage with those companies and they chose our agency to work with, not one of them gave us an existing marketing strategy in writing and said, here's our marketing strategy. So when we look at the framework of the grade 8 pillars, marketing strategy is one of the core pillars. And so as we look at how we can go in and make this better, we got to put those foundational elements in place. Because what happens today is most companies, most marketing agencies don't have a framework. They go in and they just say, hey, we'll do some more social media, we'll do some SEO, we'll do some paid advertising. I call it whack-a-mole style marketing, because they're just trying to do stuff. And when it doesn't work, what happens is like, well, we just got to do more. We got to increase the budget here. We got to write more blogs. And we've seen it time and time again. So what we realized was if we can just back up, slow down the speed up, and put a system in place that's repeatable and has analytics to support what works, results will come. Last year, over 90% of our clients achieved their ROI goals. And so, that says something.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. So, is there a secret sauce? So the grade 8 pillars, there's 8. Why not 9? Why not 4? Is there a secret sauce to the 8?
I don't know if it's a secret sauce. When we started the process, our goal was to build a framework that was repeatable for SyncShow. And when we started looking at all the different areas of marketing, it became overwhelming because there were probably over 100. You've got paid advertising, search engine marketing, paid social, search engine optimization, the list goes on. And we ended up getting it into some bigger buckets, and those buckets got us down to about 23. And then we said, okay, well, these are the 23 or so main areas of marketing, but what about ROI? Like, if you really want to get a return on investment, what's more critical? So we got it down to like 12 or 13. And then we got to polishing that up, and we realized we finally got it down to 8. And we said, okay, these 8, if you're going to do anything in marketing, do these 8. And your chances of ROI go up significantly. And we based that off of our previous experience in working with our clients over the years.
Good. You mentioned that you've worked with over 100 firms. So what makes it difficult, especially in the manufacturing sector, for an executive, an owner, a leader to invest in marketing for their company?
They don't believe in it. They just don't believe. Like I said, manufacturers, they still have those strong ties to relationships, and those relationships are all about trust. So one of the reasons they don't usually like agencies is because there isn't a trust factor. Because you got a lot of salespeople just trying to sell them some stuff, and they tried it in the past and it didn't work. So I believe that every I believe there's no such thing as an expense for a business. Everything you spend money on is an investment to grow the business. And so marketing is no exception. The problem is a lot of leaders, even outside of manufacturing, invested in marketing that just didn't work. And so you have to overcome those hurdles. And I think if the readers took anything away from the book, I would want them to take away the fact that marketing can help them, and marketing can drive results. You've just never had the right people to put the systems and processes in place to prove it.
So what part of they don't believe it or they don't believe in it revolves around them not understanding marketing? And how does the Grade 8 book, the Grade 8 Pillars book, lead them to better understanding?
So the book isn't a marketing book. And I think that's the big difference. And in writing the book, it helped me to realize how we're different at our agency. And that's we're not just a marketing company. The book is about the operational infrastructure of marketing, which especially manufacturers can relate to, because they're used to systems and processes and tools and systems that drive the organization. There is a system for marketing. It's just most companies don't know how to put it together. They don't know who to hire. They don't know when to do what. They don't have a unique, differentiated, and well-articulated value proposition. They don't have any of these operational infrastructure components that the 8 pillars represent. And so they just do whack-a-mole style marketing.
Okay. And by the way, I loved when I read whack-a-mole. I thought I knew what that meant, but I read it, way different. So could you explain that a little further?
Sure.
What does that really mean?
So I don't know if everybody's seen it today, but they used to have the whack-a-mole game where you'd get out the mallet and you'd bang, little, what were they?
Little gophers.
Gophers that popped up. Probably couldn't get away with that today, but yeah, you bang the gophers and it's just whack-a-mole. You're constantly just reacting. It's reaction mode. And so what we've seen is a lot of agencies and in-house marketing departments, because they lack a strategy, because they lack some of those foundational elements, they just do tactical implementation. And as I mentioned already, they need to do more and more and more. And then they measure and they report on metrics that don't have anything to do with a return on investment. And so let me make something clear too. Return on investment from marketing, in my opinion, is quantifiable sales from new customers or improved sales from existing customers due to a marketing effort. And I'm not saying that the sales team doesn't have a part in that, because they have a huge part in that. So does customer service. But it's a triad of teams between marketing, sales, and customer service that need to make these results happen. And most other marketing programs don't think that way. They think, I'm going to go out and I'm going to improve brand awareness, so let's track website visitors. Oh, well, we're doing our job, website visitors increased. We got impressions. All these things mean nothing. We got a lot of likes. We got new followers on our Twitter channel. These are great metrics and they should be tracked. They're just not leading to return on investment.
Okay. Now in the book, you mentioned reports. In the book it says reports that executives will love. Tell me more about that, because I love a good report.
So, and if you love a good report, you want to know how it's moving the business forward. Exactly. You don't care about visits, impressions, and Twitter followers. Now, some leaders do, because there is a vanity type thing there. And some say, hey, I want to rank #1 on Google. And I think a lot of people would say, okay, we're going to do everything we can to get you to be #1 on Google. Our job, and the way we would approach is, well, why do you want to be #1 on Google? And I'll come back to your reporting question in a minute, but I think it's really important to understand, why are we doing the things we're doing in marketing? And what is your team doing in marketing, and why? Because if your goal is to get to #1 on Google, I can make some assumptions and say, well, you're vain and you want to say to everybody, I'm #1 on Google. That's usually not the reason, but it's possible. Or it could be, I want more leads, and they assume that if they're number one on Google for a certain term, they'll get more leads. But what they don't realize is there may be other ways to achieve that objective much easier than being number one on Google for a search term. While that may be really valuable, it all depends on the search term and how high your competition is. So and this is all explained in 2 chapters of the book, in the 2 pillars. The first one is goals, KPIs, and industry benchmarks. So it's critical that you first set up what those ROI goals are. And in order to do that, you need to know where you're at today. So what is working in your marketing, what is not? What are your average order values? What are your close rates on sales? And these are a lot of metrics companies don't have. But you can work towards getting there. And then once you do, you can answer the question, am I getting return on investment from my marketing? Then there's another pillar called analytics and reporting. And so you take those goals, which usually are a measurement of how much sales, new business revenue, or new sales you're getting from your marketing effort, and then you can backtrack that into your reports. And so I will be able to show, or having read the book, you'll be able to show your leadership team, these are the efforts we did. These were the goals we were all agreed to that we were reaching for. And here's a report on our success or failures in getting there, and here's what we're going to do about it because we have the data to support it.
So we really look at results.
Absolutely.
So what I heard you say was, Jim, we can make you number one on Google, but wouldn't you rather be number one on Duns and Bradstreet? Exactly. Good. So if I'm gifting this book to someone, especially if I'm not on the leadership in the company I work for or a company I care about, who should I give the book to? Who makes a great receiver for this gift?
I think it's that VP of sales and marketing or the CEO at that manufacturing company that is looking for a path. And I think that's the one thing I've gotten feedback from around the book is that when executives read it, and even like more senior marketers, they finally feel like, aha, okay, I now have somebody telling me that there's a system to follow for marketing, as opposed to just another theory that somebody has, and I hope that they're right. So it's a proven framework, and I think people realize that through the stories in the book.
Good. And that really leads to my next question. There's a line in your book, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Talk some more about that. What are the stupid prizes that we win?
The stupid prizes you win are wasted time and wasted money. I use that kind of facetiously in the book just because, we've all been there. And, we've made tons of mistakes too as we've grown and learned, and, it's how you get better. And so, failure can be a really good thing, but you win stupid prizes when you fail. And it's really what you do with those prizes. So what I was really referring to in the book is look back at all your past marketing efforts. How many people did you hire? The new website you spent 15, 20, 30, 100, 200 grand on or more. Look at all the time you've spent training and educating and recruiting and hiring agencies, and add up those numbers, and those numbers get pretty big. And if the marketing doesn't work, what do? You start over again. You try it again because you don't want to give up. You don't want to quit. Other people are doing it well, so you're like, what are they doing? Like, why are my competitors, kicking my butt? So I think that's really what I was referring to when you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Let's not play the game. Let's get the system in place. Let's get the operational foundation in place, and then improve our chances for results and success later.
Good. That's great. Okay, so I'm a manufacturing, I'm a business leader. I've read the book. Next step, should I just fire all my marketing salespeople? What if I don't have a marketing team right now? Should I hire a bunch of people? How do I get started?
So no, don't fire your marketing people and don't start all over. Normally, what we found is, unless you're doing no marketing, if you're doing no marketing and you're like a smaller business, or you're maybe a business that's been in business for 80 years or 100 years, and you've survived off of marketing, but you're starting to see declines in your sales and things are stagnant, and now you're like, I've got to invest in marketing. Definitely read the book and realize that there's a process. I wouldn't just go out and just start whack-a-mole. I wouldn't just go straight to tactical. So I would highly recommend reading the chapter on the pillar of marketing strategy. As far as if you are doing marketing today and you have maybe 1 or 2 or 10 marketers or more on your team, we have a free diagnostic tool on our website that you can go and it'll ask you questions and you can see how you're performing against the grade 8 pillars. And what we find with existing marketing teams or existing marketing programs in place is many of them have some true merit in areas where things are working. They just don't know it because they're not tracking the right analytics, or maybe if they do know it, they're trying other things. So the diagnostic will at least identify what you're doing well and where the low-hanging fruit is. And you may find that your existing team is great. You just need some extra support to pull it off.
So the things that we're not learning, if we're whack-a-mole, we're trying everything to see if anything works. So in the book, for every chapter, I believe, you have a lesson learned there. I get the feeling from reading it that some of those were very hard-learned lessons.
Yeah, they were.
So if I'm reading through this book, what's the one lesson you hope that I remember from your examples?
I think there's a lesson learned at the end of every chapter. And every one of them was a failure we experienced over the years that made us question our methodology or our processes and the way we do things. That was a pivotal moment in how we decided to operate in the future. So we went and said, that didn't work. Oh my God, we got to fix this. And we worked very hard to fix it. And so I think, if anything, the one thing that especially sales leaders and marketing leaders have concerns about when they read the book and they want to do the diagnostic, they have to get really vulnerable and be honest with themselves. So about their marketing program, and realize that what they're doing isn't working. If they wouldn't be reading the book or taking the diagnostic if they weren't there mentally. But now it's a time to put it on paper, and it's like, I don't want the world to see that the last 5 years of work I've done here hasn't resulted in the goals that we wanted, and maybe my CEO doesn't know, so I don't want to say anything. I don't want to bring it to light. Trust me, the CEO already knows. They already, feel that way. Maybe it's just not the most important thing right now. So the lesson I would recommend, that I would want the reader to take away, is we've all failed. We've all made mistakes. Now it's time to just try it again and learn from others and put a system in place that is a different way of thinking.
Okay. So let's change the view frame. I'm in an organization. I am in marketing, sales, promotion. My leader's not really on board. Is this assessment? Is this diagnostic? Is that a good place for me to start to win them over?
It depends. So when you take the diagnostic, it's a free tool, and it asks you a series of questions around the grade 8 pillars. So one thing we haven't really talked much about is, in addition to outlining the grade 8 pillars, we identified over 120 gold standards across those 8 pillars. And those gold standards are everything from what we've identified as best practices, industry best practices, Google standards, technology standards. So it's not just stuff we made up. It's universally accepted standards in marketing. When you take that assessment tool, most of the time you're going to recognize that there are a lot of things you need to fix. I don't always recommend you share that with the C-suite. if you're a marketing leader or a marketing person, because what it might do is just highlight that you haven't done all these things. However, it gives you a great path for what you can do to improve. If you want to win over those leaders that aren't on board, that's goals, KPIs, and industry benchmarks. So there's nothing better, when you're a leader of a company and someone walks in your office and says, hey, I've got an idea. I think we can improve something. And these are the goals I think we should have. And this is the return on investment I think we can get. Should we give it a try?
Sounds like a done deal.
Yeah, you'd be like, hell yeah, right? Because now you got somebody on your team that's like into it, they're invested, it's gonna help the company out. You'd be a crazy leader to say, no, we don't wanna do that. But if you follow the methodology in that chapter, it'll give you a framework for which, how to create those goals. And we also in the book talk about how to present that to the leadership team to get them on board.
And that's, when I read through that, I captured that in my mind because, let's face it, having been one of them, there are a lot of old school people in manufacturing. So we're not just changing their mind, we're changing their viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that there's a chapter in there that tells me how to approach these people. Is there something I should not do around that? For example, you said, don't just go to them with the tactics, but is there sorry, not thinking well, is there a framework they should use besides the reports?
I don't know if it's really a framework as much as we have in the marketing team section, in the chapter on marketing team, we have a section about when executives get mired in marketing. And we list the common reasons that executives get involved in marketing. And one of those may be they're just very interested in marketing and they've got an interest in marketing and they've always had this marketing passion, and we find that on occasion, and it's awesome. They also may be just looking for alignment, to make sure marketing is doing the things that we need to do and that sales and marketing are together on it and that it's all rolling up. If they get involved because of a lack of ROI, you've got a problem as a marketer or a VP of marketing or sales. Because now they're getting involved because they don't trust you, because you haven't met their expectations in the past. So now they're getting involved and getting into the weeds. And I tell our team at Sync Show at our agency is, if your executives at our clients are getting involved in marketing all of a sudden and they haven't been, it's because they're not happy with the results. So we've got to make sure we have a conversation with them about what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I think that's all leaders just want to have that trust. So, when you were a client of ours, we would tell you what we were doing and why we were doing it. And our plans and our strategies outlined all that. And I'm hoping that gave you a level of trust to say, all right, I might not understand all of this,
Which I did not.
but they've got a plan. And the plan sounds legitimate. So it just allows you to let us do our job. Without that, you'd probably be asking a million questions.
Yes.
And you should.
So because of all these things they've tried, many manufacturing companies have been at it for a long time. I love working with the multi-generational ones. Is there something that we can point at, that 30-second thumbnail, that says, hey, I realize you believe you've been there and done this and seen it all, but here's why this is different? Is there that paragraph that you would like us to use when we talk about the grade 8 pillars?
Oh boy, that's a big one. I don't know if there's a paragraph. I think we often get, when we're talking with prospects and we're talking with manufacturing leaders and we're talking about marketing, I wouldn't say it's uncommon for one of them to go, well, that won't work for us, or that marketing is smoke and mirrors, and we've tried it, it just doesn't work. And I get it. There's nothing I can really say to them to change their mind.
Okay.
Reading the book for those folks may not change their mind. What changes their mind is when they see their competitor, 5 miles down the road, who's got this awesome brand that's all over the internet, and every time they open their computer, there's another ad or a social media post or their website's beautiful, and then they get upset. Then they're like, all right, we got to do something about it. So
I have a good friend in business. He says people don't change when they see the light. They change when they feel the heat. So that's what you're telling me.
Yep, exactly.
So let's bring that back into it. What would you tell someone who says, this is great, I've read the book, it sounds really good, but our business is so unique, this won't work for us?
I would say, give me a list of your competitors, and I'll be happy to talk to them. And then you'll call me back in 2 years from now when they're kicking your ass.
So if there's one thing from this has been great, I've actually learned a lot just sitting here asking these questions.
Yeah, no.
I've already read the book. So what's the one thing that I haven't asked about that you would really like me to know about this method, about your new book?
I think it's an easy read. It's 20 years of experience from 3 marketing leaders that have been there and done that for manufacturers for a long time. And we put our heart and soul into this, and I do believe, because we've seen the data and we've seen the proof, this works. And even if you don't engage with us to do it, I hope you can read the book and realize that there's hope, and that there is a proven methodology, there is a framework that works. Take it and just try parts of it. I would also highly recommend you do not eat the elephant all at one time. It can be very overwhelming to read this and say, where do I start and how do I do this? So like as an example, pillar number 2 is value proposition, messaging, and branding. It's number 2 for a reason. It's because it's in my opinion, one of the most important things to get right before you build a marketing strategy, pillar number 3. So value proposition is tough work. And the scary thing is most people, when they start it, realize they don't have one, or they don't have a unique, differentiated story to tell. And so you got to get creative, and you got to figure out how are we going to do this. So it can be overwhelming, is my point. I would just recommend you just take it one step at a time. You do the best with what you can. You start chipping away. You look at those pillars, and you look at the 120 gold standards, and it will come.
Chris, this is exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And on the new system. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.